Hey guys, I'm here. We're going to finish this mermaid page together. Just a reminder, these are the colors we're using on her tail. We've got RV35, VO8, BG310, and BG311, and BV312. So we'll also be using a fine liner for some acrylic. And we're going to get started. Okay, I'm going to take this seafoam green and start kind of coming out into the tail. I'm going to skip some spaces so it gives it a chance to dry so we can layer it. Now I'm going to get a little extra with this page because I am really enjoying it. So some of the things I'll do, you do not have to do, but we are going to just take it a little step further. You know, I like to challenge you guys. Also, don't forget your page protector sheet. I know somebody out there forgot. That's okay. We're not judging. Unless you're Amber, then we're calling the judge. Okay, we're going to go back in with the same color. Give it a minute to dry. That way it kind of layers itself some. Bring it down here a little bit. Okay, we're going to go into that BG311, the turquoise. Sorry if you hear this noise in the background. We have a dog bed. Like, the dogs have several options. They have a cage that is left open that they can sleep in. They have a cushioned dog bed that they can sleep in. And I have one in the cage right now, and he's done like push the blankets out. So you hear all of his claws everywhere. Scratching around in there. They're so crazy. Okay. I'm going to take that light shade again and just fill in these light areas. Okay, I want to bring in some of my purples. That RV35. I'm going to do the same thing, kind of feather it in and out, layering it, giving it a second to dry here and there. You can go over a little bit of your green. Okay, moving to V08. Just to maximize our colors here that we're using. And then finally, going in with the BV312, that deep royal blue. Okay, I'm going to take that lightest green again, give that blue a chance to dry, and then we're going to take that lightest green and fade some of this. Okay, so I'm going to take that lightest green shade and just kind of blend this all in. Now, keep in mind this is thinner paper, so I'm not going to do too harsh of a blend as I would normally do. And you don't even have to, if you like the lines the way they are, you can leave it the way that they are. You don't necessarily have to do this blend. But if you were doing something on thicker paper, this would turn out really nicely, okay? Now I'm gonna avoid that pink area for right now. I'm just gonna do the blues. And then I'm gonna come back in with that lighter pink, the RV35, and hit that pink. Back in with the blur. And the pink. And just continue that all the way through the tail, including this part. Now I just want to add a few more defining lines with this dark blue. And these we will not blend out. These are going to be our detail lines. Okay, and then now all we have to do is take our fine liner and do some detailing. Okay, I'm gonna start in the tail, in the top of the tail area. And you can do, this doesn't have to be anything specific. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can do whatever makes you happy. Y'all know that when I do like little whimsical type pages, I like to do, I kind of go over the top a little bit. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. Lots of lines, lots of dots, some bigger and smaller. And I'm going to do that throughout the whole tail, okay? And so I'm not going to make you sit here and go through all that. I'm going to fast forward you, but go through and do that all the way through here, and then I'll pick back up with you right here. Okay, welcome back. I've got my tail done. I even added a couple little sparkle, little crosses here and there. And so for the tail, we're going to do a little different. We're going to do some white line streaks and then some white circles. So I'm going to start by outlining like right inside the black line on the outside of the tail. And again, you can do as much or as little as this as you want to, okay? You don't have to be perfectly straight either. You can, skip a little. I like to kind of drag my pen on the side to get that little skippage, okay? And then some circles in here. Again, I just think that this adds to the whimsical, but I do understand that this isn't for everybody, and I always try to remind you guys to color in a way that makes you happy, even when following along with me, because that's how you develop your own style. You are more than welcome to do what I'm doing, but if you don't like it, you don't have to, because the way I color is not necessarily the right way. It's just a way that I enjoy. It's just my way, to quote Grizel. And there is our dots. See how pretty that is? And then I'm also going to add, what we're going to do down here is going to be so much fun. We're going to do, let's just get there. I just realized I recorded a whole 5 minutes of talking with no video recorded. So here we are, take 2. Thankfully I didn't color anything. So we're about to do the water. And if I go a little too fast or you need more reference, you can go back to this page. We're going to follow these steps with one difference. Well, 2. First, I've added a couple more colors into the palette to do a gradient, more of a gradient, okay? I think over there we use like 4 colors. We're going to be using 6. But again, do what makes you comfortable. If you don't have all 6 markers or you don't want to use all 6 markers, understandably, it's fine. These are the markers we'll use if you want to get them together. We'll start with the Mint Whisk, that BG21, move into the G34, the BG19, and then the back row, Tahitian, B114, B315, okay? But here's another twist we're gonna do. We're gonna add in, and I'll show these markers again when we get there. We're gonna use some of these deeper blues, and we're gonna do silhouette seaweed, kind of like we did with the trees in the Princess and the Frog, okay? We're going to make some silhouette seaweed back here, and then later at the end, we're going to take some green acrylic and make some green seaweed. So we're going to add some extra to the page. Again, you don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you how you can take what you have and really intensify it by adding those details, you know. Okay, so we're going to start at the top with this Mint Wisp. I want it very, very light at the top. Like it is the surface of the water. And I want to kind of bend it down just slightly to where it's not this straight across. And you want to work quickly. Remember, with alcohol markers, they're going to dry and they're going to start to layer. So I'm going to get this green quickly across the top here. And actually go another bit with that Mint Wisp to kind of get that blend in. Now, if you have a few little marks here and there, we're going to do some bubbles and things, some acrylic, and you can hide some of that. So if it's a small, tiny thing here and there, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And you can see my marker starting to dry out. I'm gonna have to switch to a new one soon. All right, we're gonna switch to that sea blue. BG19. Now I'm going to do a quick little line here and then go back in with that green real quick. Now, if this were cardstock or thicker paper, you would have to go a lot slower. And I would suggest working in like circular motions to get your ink in the paper. But if it is cardstock or thicker paper, it's going to take the ink a lot longer to dry, so you have a little bit more wiggle room, and I feel like cardstock is more forgiving. So keep that in mind. But if you're following along in this book, you know, these pages are thin. You can work very quickly. The ink will soak in. Now, again, it might be a little streaky, but we're going to be adding so many extra details that it's not going to be a big deal. Now, with this layer, I'm going to go a lot further down than I did with the top because I wanted the top just to be at the surface. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more markers left. So we're going to break up the next part into those. All right, now I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do this down. I'll pick back up when I go to switch to the next marker. Okay, I'm getting ready to switch. I brought this down just at her elbow here, and I'm going to switch. Now, a good rule of thumb when blending too is you want to go down a little further than you think you need. So I'm going to go over this line here. Just a tad, and that's going to help this transition. And then I'm gonna go back in with that lighter shade and run through the top again. I feel like chasing your ink in a large area like this is definitely one of the hardest things to do and learn with alcohol markers. It takes practice. It also takes knowing your medium. So what type of paper are you using? Also, having a good set of markers makes a difference. Now, you don't have to have the most expensive markers on the market, but if you're wanting to color and you want it to look nice, it does take a little bit of an investment. But if you love coloring and it's a hobby you're going to continue for a long time, then in my opinion, it's worth the investment. You can always start with a smaller pack size of markers. They do have some really good off-brands nowadays that are a little cheaper. I know Chromuse is a good one. Bianyo is a little cheaper than Ohuhu, but not that much. That would be another brand maybe, but I am an Ohuhu girl through and through. I have been playing around a little bit with Arctics. They are another great brand, especially for pastel shades. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna cut you guys off again until I get down a little further. Okay, moving into that next deeper shade. Going over a little bit higher than you think you need. Now this one is quite dark. It's a big jump in the color, in the shade range. So it's gonna take, it might not blend as smoothly, especially as quickly as we have to work. But again, this is why I like adding details, because the details can hide the mistake so much. Okay, obviously the deeper the water gets, the darker it is. So this is why we did the gradient that we did. And you can see even myself, as fast as I'm working, I'm still getting some streaking. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Okay, I'll see you again when I get ready for the next shade. Okay, I'm going to go ahead with the darkest shade over here, but I'm not quite ready to bring it all the way over here yet. So you want to keep that other marker shade in your hand for just a few more seconds. Okay, we're about to move into that last shade. Over here. And I'm blending backwards a little bit. Another thing with doing large areas of space like this that some people don't think about either is investing in those markers that have the brush tip, because the brush tip is really what does this flawlessness when it comes to these large areas of blending. All right, so I'm just gonna bring this color all the way back, all the way down to the sand. Okay, we have this nice gradient down, and we're gonna add a bunch of details in here. Let's do it. Now, if you're just absolutely crazy about the lines, one thing you can do is take your lightest shade and start with your lightest shade and just take that light shade all the way down and just blend everything out. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not worried about it. I think a lot of our details are gonna cover it up, but that's just one thing you can do if you're really worried about any lines or streaks that you have. Okay, we're gonna work on our silhouettes. We're gonna do some seaweed and some coral silhouettes. So I'm gonna use a range of these. This way it gives me a little bit of a lighter silhouette, a darker silhouette, and a mid silhouette, so that it actually looks like things are further and closer away. And you only wanna do it starting at this back line, because everything in the front is gonna be acrylic and colored. So I'm actually gonna start on my light shade here. Okay, so some seaweed, and again, it's gonna be different. It could be whatever you want it to be, right? Like, you're the artist, and it could be small little seaweed, tall little seaweed. It can be a little coral. Let's do a coral. If you want something to look like it's closer, you want it larger. If you want it to look further away, you're gonna make it smaller. All right, so you get the idea. And now you want to do some lighter, some darker, and I will see you back when you have yours done. Okay, so you can see I've got different types of seaweed, coral, and all that, and you can really fill this up as much as you want. And I'm also going to take these shades and a few of the lighter shades from up here and go in and do the bubble silhouette. So these right here. Okay, we got our bubbles down, so we're going to add the white spots to the top. Now, you kind of want to make it in this little circular motion. So we're going to start here and kind of work our way out. And I'm just going to start with a bunch of like random ones across the top. Some longer ones and shorter ones. This is just creating those ripples at the top of the water. And then we're going to start curving them in. All right, and so I will see you in the next step. Okay, now we're going to be doing the last step, which is add these little bubble rays down. You could also take a brush tip and do like a line and smudge it down, but I really like the bubbles, so that's what we're going to do. And then we're also going to remember to try and keep it like your longest one, and then kind of getting shorter as you go into this, and then even bring a few little dots down here and there. So we're going to start that. Let me see if I can get you zoomed in here. And I'm going to bring this one down a good bit. Okay, kind of angle it out so you get that circular motion. And like each tip should be getting shorter. And then repeat this on the other side. Okay, you could leave your page like this, but just to show like one more step up that you can do to elevate this is we're going to add some seaweed down here with acrylic markers and some rocks, which I also had added some rocks down here in the silhouettes that I forgot to mention, but I'm going to be using these Artly markers, the 727, 687, and 255, and we're going to do some seaweed. Okay, I'm going to take the 727 and start the top of my seaweed. I want it to be a little lighter. And I'm not going to make these super fancy or anything. Oop, I'm going to transition into a little bit darker. 687. Okay, and just kind of repeat, making some more. I want this one like it's kind of coming behind. Now, depending on what you want to do, you may want to do a second layer if you can see that sand coming through and that's bothering you. I would probably do a second layer. To keep this video short though, I probably won't do all that on camera, but it will help. All right, let that dry. And we're going to use that last Artly, the 255, to add a couple of details to this. So, you know, see, we've got that little line. I'll do that. And then you don't have to do this step, but if you want to outline it, because everything else on our page is outlined in black, I'm going to be using a micron size 8 pen, and I'm going to give my seaweed an outline, just so that it matches the rest of the page. And you can tell what is what on here. Now I'm going to add some rocks. You can use a gray acrylic. I'm using an Ohuhu BGY 021. And we're going to build us some rocks. You can make these however shape you want. And I'm going to do the same thing like we did with the seaweed. I'm going to add a little bit of dimension with a lighter gray and then an outline. You can do some rocks anywhere you want. You can add seaweed anywhere you want. I'm going to take a little lighter gray, BGY 19, and add a little shadowings in here. Add some dotting. Well, I guess I should say highlighting and dotting. I'm going to take my micron pen and outline. Now, obviously, you can get more complicated with this. You don't have to. I'm trying to keep it a little easy peasy for you guys. And then you can add this wherever you want on your page. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then I'll show you my finest. You want some large bubbles and some small bubbles, and in different colors, because again, the darker colors are gonna make them look a little closer up. The lighter ones are gonna make them look a little further away. So you wanna mix. This is where you wanna strategically place them where you might think you have some streakiness and things, okay? So I will see. Okay, here's my finished page, and you could add way more than what I did, but I'm trying to keep it a little simple, and I went ahead and added highlights to my seaweed, my rocks. You can see I added them into the sand just to make it a little more whimsical. I smudged it right there, but there you go. Add as much detail or as little as you want. I can't wait to see your picture. Be sure to post it in the Discord. I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.